Welcome to Successfully Ambiguous, the podcast that guides professionals through the changing world of work so you can find your own way, your own path, your success. So tell me, what is self-leadership and how can it help build your personal brand?
So the exploration of self-leadership is really just getting into an honest look of your background, your transferable skills, the areas that you excel in, maybe also exploring some of your weaknesses and areas where you need some more mentorship and experience. And so when we put together the complete package of who you are, then it makes really building your personal brand so much easier because you know who you are and you feel comfortable putting yourself out there. So that's just a little bit about what self-leadership is and how it can help you as a leader building your personal brand.
That's awesome. I've heard as you're helping leaders and learners develop their personal brands, you often talk about the analogy of a lobster. This isn't the first time a lobster's come up in on this podcast, oddly enough. But what can we learn from lobsters that help us grow as leaders?
I love that. Well, I'll have to find out what episode you were talking about lobsters and take a listen because you've piqued my curiosity. Yeah, so lobsters, they're such an interesting creature of the sea, and essentially, lobsters have to shed their shell. So when the shell gets uncomfortable, they shed it. And what the reason why I really love this analogy is that essentially when we're building our career, we kind of have the same attributes as a lobster. Every so often, maybe we outgrow where we once were in our career, and we need to shed that shell to really unleash who we are meant to be in terms of where we want to go. Perhaps the industry is changing, like industries like such as marketing and other things that are happening with the future of work requires us to shed our shell and sort of take to sort of scale back and look at where we are currently at and where we need to go and what we maybe need to give up or change in order to evolve.
And I love that because shells are protective, right? And so many of us have come up at a time when we adopted certain behaviors and attitudes and skills as a protective layer. And now that we're in a position of leadership, they may not be beneficial for us. So it's good to be able to outgrow those things, but admit that some of those things you acquired along the way were good and helpful. So it's such a great analogy. And what's intrigued me about your approach to helping leaders identify their personal brands and their essence is that your focus on DNA as part of personal branding, right? So it's not about adopting something that is artificial. So many leadership coaches want you to adopt a persona that may or may not be you. As women, we've been told to lean in, we've been told to lean back. I'm sure we've been told to do all sorts of interesting gestures. But if it's not actually who you are, right? Being told back in the shoulder pad days to speak with authority and come in with your opinion and state it no matter what. That's not who I am. I'm a listener and a collaborator, and somebody brings together ideas as part of my creative strategy. So I really like, how do you help people discover what those things are that are core to their DNA and build that into their own leadership practice?
I love how you talked about core values, and I think that is something that we start with, right? It's just those even like three to five values that are important to you. It's how you show up, it's how you make decisions, it's how you lead, and it's how you build your personal brand. So for me, my three core values are freedom, relationships, and autonomy. And so for me, like every decision I make has to fit under one of those values, right? And then it just helps me to lead with confidence and to really be the best version of myself, because everybody has bad days, but when we focus on what matters to us and how we want to stand out in the marketplace with our teams, if we focus on the things and that really can make a difference with our leadership and how we put ourselves out there, you don't feel so uncomfortable, right? Because you're leading from a sense of purpose, and when you have that sense of purpose, it makes all of your decisions that much easier.
You and I both interact with students and people who are changing career paths. I think it's such an important attribute and philosophy to bring into your career search as well, because if a place isn't really going to take advantage of your core values and your DNA, it may not be the right fit. But when you find that fit, where what you have to offer is what is needed and encouraged and supported, you can grow in ways and add value in ways that and just thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that sort of really brings the point that I always tell students and people who I'm mentoring is that an interview is a two-way process. It's not just you being interviewed. You should definitely be interviewing the company, doing the research, knowing what matters to them, how they treat people in times of challenge and in good times and bad, right? And so, getting a sense of who is going to be leading and how that relationship is going to play out between you, because we spend so much time at work, you really want it to be a two-way, you really want it to feel good on both sides, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so often I've hired a lot of people over the course of my career. And so often candidates come in with they're reticent to ask their questions and to take on their role in the interview as far as interviewer. But it actually comes across quite as a powerful thing and as a sign of interest to the hiring manager, right? It shows interest, it shows engagement. And quite frankly, if a place that's going to support and thrive, allow you to thrive, will want to see that you're not just submissively answering questions. They want to see we're not hiring robots. We're hiring people with skills and sets that we don't currently have.
Absolutely. And especially in the age of AI, I think that makes it all that more important is that the real you is shining through so that, everyone feels good. And like you mentioned, your core value about relationships and collaboration, right? If you know that about yourself, then you can show that passion in the interview about the things that matter. And quite frankly, most times, if you've done a bit of research in advance, you can show those values how they're in alignment.
Absolutely. And you're right. In the age of AI, we are hiring humans, right? And so you want to know what kind of human you are. And likewise, you'll want to know how the humans who are hiring you look at the world, because that will have a huge impact on your success and your happiness.
Yeah.
I often see you online, enjoying the great outdoors. I know we were just talking about a ski trip you'd recently had. I'm a big proponent in just when I'm struggling to figure something out, just going for a walk down in the woods, or we have a beautiful campus, so I often walk here. And how do you think time in nature benefits leaders?
Oh, yeah. It really is important for us to step away from our computers and our 24/7 technology, access to technology, because we start to lose connection with our creativity. Sometimes we get overwhelmed. We have a lot of things going on, in such a busy world, especially with the rate in which all of the tools that are being added to our plates, right? There's, new technology being released especially in the marketing industry, basically, on a weekly basis. There seems like there's a whole new operating system every day that you have to learn about and decide whether or not you should be utilizing these tools. And so it can lead to a great sense of overwhelm. So I find that play and being out in nature and taking a break and allowing yourself to not force the answers, but to just let them unfold. The best places to do that are in nature, whether it's doing your favorite sport or whether it's just going for a walk to clear your head. Those qualities can help in so many different ways. And I believe it's a leader's greatest asset is knowing when to step away.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think you can be in nature without engaging your sense of play. Right? Try walking anywhere in Toronto without a raccoon or a squirrel. There's a sense of play, right? And that gets you into a different creative headspace and a chance to look at things differently. Leigh, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate chatting with you today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Successfully Ambiguous. Be sure and subscribe to us on YouTube and listen to us on Apple and Spotify. If you've got career questions, be sure to email me at successfullyambiguous@yorku.ca.
Don't forget, when opportunity knocks, be ready to answer.